Hey kids, it's Mr. and Fly here, hope you're well. Now another exciting day for me because I've just been to the Triumph factory to pick up my latest long-term loan bike. And this is the Triumph Bonneville Street Cup. So it's the sort of baby Bonneville cafe racer style machine. It's based on the Street Twin, but it's got some of the styling cues of the Thruxton. So it looks like a cafe racer, of course, but it's even got some things like the twin clocks off the Thruxton, or very similar to the Thruxton. It's got the same foot pegs and things like that. So stick around and stay tuned, and I'll let you know my initial thoughts on these Triumph Street Cup. So the first thing that I noticed when I got on the bike, and I've been riding it for about 3/4 of an hour now, I suppose, it's the riding position. Of all the new Bonnevilles that I've been on, this has got the most, I'll say in quotes, extreme riding position. It's not extreme at all, but your legs are quite tucked up underneath you and you feel quite sort of closed in, if you see what I mean, because of course it's got these clip-on handlebars, and it means this sort of triangle between the grips, the pegs and your bottom, it's kind of close, so you feel quite tucked in. So for example, I can touch my knees on my elbows quite easily, and the angle of my knees is quite acute, less than 90 degrees. So I think if you're a big person, this might feel quite a small bike. So bear that in mind if you are of a larger disposition. I'm 5'8", and to me it feels sort of compact. So the engine is the 900cc high torque engine, the same as in the T100 and the Street Twin. Sounds absolutely lovely when you're pottering along. I don't know if the mic can pick that up, but just got that low thrum. When you get moving, it being a naked bike, there's quite a bit of wind noise actually with the helmet I'm wearing at the moment, and you can't really hear the engine once you're moving, but a standstill like this, it just sounds the biz. Now whilst we're on the subject of the riding position, the seat on it is actually quite long, so you can move yourself quite a long way back and tuck down low if you want to, although I feel a bit silly like that, or you can move yourself forward and you can sit absolutely bolt upright. And although these handlebars may look sort of extreme like clip-ons, they're actually quite high up, and in fact when I'm sitting upright, I've got a completely straight back, and you could ride on this all day long without any fatigue. I mean, although it looks sporty and it's got the clip-ons, it certainly doesn't feel like a sports bike when you're on it in terms of the seating position. So although your legs are sort of tucked up, you're certainly not in a crouched position unless you want to be. One thing I do very much like on this bike are these mirrors. These bar end mirrors just work so well. I've got bar end mirrors on my Street Triple, which are much smaller, and although they look cool, they don't actually work very well as mirrors because they don't give you much of a field of view, whereas these are quite large, well, normal sort of mirror size, and they give you an absolutely cracking view behind. The ride quality on the machine is really lovely. The suspension, I would say, is, well, actually I'd say it was medium. It's neither so hard that it wants to chuck you off at every bump, and it's not so soft that it's all spongy and lollopy. So again, it's built for comfort from a suspension point of view. And the seat itself, although it looks thin, actually is very comfortable. It feels like a seat that's much more padded than it actually looks. So again, all day ride comfortable from a seat point of view. So what about the brakes on this little thing then? So there's nothing behind us, let's just give them a squeeze. Now, actually quite good, which surprised me a little bit because I spent some time riding the T100, and my criticism of that bike was that the front brakes are a little bit weak. So I sort of expected the same on here because it's got exactly the same single disc setup. But actually they feel a bit better to me than on the T100. I don't know if that's because of the slightly over the front wheel sort of position, and therefore you've got a bit more weight on the front of the bike, but definitely so far the brakes don't seem as if they're an issue on here. You can always do with more brake, can't you, but they seem perfectly adequate. The gearbox on this bike is an absolute delight. I guess it's because it's a brand new bike, but it's very positive and they just snick into place exactly as you like. A really good positive clunk, which I love. Well, with the sun actually coming out on the splendid little Northamptonshire town of Towcester, it's time for me to find somewhere to stop and do a little walk around of this bike then, show you what she looks like. Oh, I know, there's a little pub just outside Toaster, which I was thinking looks like a potential lunch stop. Maybe that'll be a good spot for a walk around too. Aha, here's the pub. It's probably as good a place as any for a walk round. Over the bonus, hopefully I'll get a bit of a lunch here too. Right, let's show you around the Street Cup then. Neutral. The stand's got a useful little lip so you can pull it out. Marvellous. Here she is then, resplendent in her yellow paint scheme. And these bikes actually have this, these extra panels and so on. This is these coach lines are actually hand painted apparently on the tank and so on. They look fantastic. Okay, let me get my iPhone out so I can give you a decent close-up look. Okay then, let's give you a decent view of the Street Cup. There we have it. Okay, so here she is, the 2017 Triumph Street Cup. As I mentioned earlier, she's got the 900cc high torque Bonneville engine, which is the same engine as you find in the Street Twin and the T100. This basically is a dressed up Street Twin, is one way of looking at it. The engine, as you can see on this model, is blacked out, whereas the T100 has the sort of brushed aluminium chrome look. It's got all the little engine embellishers though, which I like the look of, and the little foot scuff plate thing's rather cool, actually bolted to the engine, and then the foot pegs are from the Thruxton. Looks very nice. It's 54 bhp this engine, putting out 80 newton meters of torque at 3,230 rpm, i.e. low down. And I think that's one of the things that makes these bikes great, is that the power, although not huge, is delivered low down. So in the real world, really useful power on these. And the thing certainly doesn't feel slow. Just travelling along at normal road speeds up to 70 miles an hour, the thing absolutely chucks along absolutely fine. It's got the 270-degree firing order, which gives it that lovely noise. I think all the new Bonnevilles have that actually. They've learnt from the old Scrambler, just the 270-degree firing order sounds brilliant on these bikes. Seat height is a nice low 780mm. It feels very low, in fact. When when I get my feet down flat on the floor, I've got a slight bend in my knees, so it's great in that respect. Dry weight 200 kilograms, so not the lightest of bikes, but it doesn't feel heavy when you're riding on her. It's got a switchable traction control, ABS. It's got Triumph's torque assist clutch, which basically just means it feels very light in use, which is nice. It's got a 5-speed gearbox, and as a nod to modern day life, USB charging socket under the seat. And if you want to customise the thing, then there's 250 plus accessories that you can bolt on, and some of the options include things like heated grips, for example, which I would definitely go for if I had one of these. Fuel tank 12 litres, 76 miles per gallon, so you're looking at sort of a 200 mile range, I guess. And if you want to buy one of these, you're looking at £8,700 on the road. Okay, so that's the specs. Let's just have a quick look at some of the detail down here. So very straightforward, because there's no riding modes on this, so it's just your start stop button and hazard lights. They've kept the twin clocks on here, which I love, rather than going for the single. It just looks really classy, I think. And then on this side you've got your information button that gives you all your usual trip meters and so on. And yeah, and the finish is the what we now come to expect from Triumph, absolutely top notch. Okay, so there we have it. That is the Triumph Street Cup. I'm going to go in the pub, have a bit of lunch, and then come out and ride it some more. So, after what can only be described as a splendid meal at the Folly Inn, let's jump back on this bad boy, see how she does. Okay, good chance to see what it's like to manoeuvre off the stand. Actually, this is the case where the bar end mirror, although they're brilliant, gets in the way a bit when you want to pick it up off the stand like that. Okay, other than that, absolutely fine. Well, it does feel quite heavy actually when you're moving her around. I don't know if that's because it's so low and you've got a bit less leverage than a taller bike perhaps. Okay, let's get this show on the road again. Love these dials. These new Bonneville high torque engines really do have a lot of low down shove, which is just where you want it. Excellent. Right, what I need to do now is find some traffic-free twisty roads. So I suppose it's just worth talking about weather protection on the Street Cup. And of course it's a naked bike, so there isn't really any wind protection except for this little lipped cowling type thing here. And I can't imagine that's doing much really, because I've got a fair old blast of wind at me, which is no problem at all. You expect that from a naked bike and you just get used to it. And at these sort of higher road speeds, you know, it just balances the weight off your wrist a bit. Not that there's any much weight on the wrist, but you can just lean forward a little bit on the bike at these speeds and sort of find a balance point. It's no problem at all. You just get used to it. She's nice and stable in the corners. You have to sort of muscle it around because the handlebars are quite narrow. You have to give them a fair bit of counter steering input, but it's quite rewarding. These are the sorts of roads that this little bike loves. Just sweepy, quite nicely paced roads where you can enjoy the steering and just take it easy through the countryside. Lovely. Obviously I appreciate the cafe racer, or calf racer as it would have been called, style. It's really an in-town type thing, but it does work out here in the country too. And this soft plush suspension just soaks up all these bumps and the gnarly potholes that we've got on the blighty roads at the moment a treat, and makes even riding on these bumpy old roads a joy. Okay, so that's pretty much it for my first impressions type review. I've been riding the bike for about 2 hours now, and got a bit of an initial feel for it. To summarise, nice little bike. I love the clocks, looks absolutely fantastic. It's got this now brilliant Triumph build quality. It's great in town for a bit of filtering. The engine just sounds amazing. It's very easy to ride. Friendly bike, comfy seat, and get your feet flat down on the deck, and even for me as a bit of a shorty, a bit of a bend in my legs, very comfortable. It's all day comfortable. Seats much better than you'd think. The mirrors work a treat. It's in no way as impractical as maybe it looks. The riding position's great. The engine's got loads of go, ample for real world riding, and the thing just looks kind of cool. So I'm lucky enough now to have this bike for a little while, and I'm going to be riding the pants off of it and getting a bit of a feel for what it's like to actually own and run one of these bikes. So stick around, stay tuned to my reviews over the next few weeks, and I'll tell you a bit more about what I think about the Triumph Street Cup. Until then, this has been the Mist and Flyer. Cheerio.